In Africa today, the hustle is no longer just on the streets, it's online. From TikTok tutorials to coding boot camps, the continent's youth are rewriting the rules of survival. But as the digital wave rises, so does questions, one of which is this the future of work solely hinged on digitization, or this is just a new terrain for the same old hustle? So today on FAFANUA Africa, we will be diving into the digital hustle, how young Africans are swiping, learning, and earning their way through a shifting economy. I am Lekon Onobanjo, and it's about time that we start the show proper. In Lagos, Nigeria, a continent where over 60% of the population is under 25, the youth hustle is evolving. With traditional jobs shrinking and inflation biting harder than ever, young Africans are turning to their phones not just for entertainment, but for empowerment. From self-taught graphic designers in Accra to freelance developers in Nairobi, Kenya, digital skills are becoming the new currency. But beneath the surface of this digital gold rush lies a complex reality. Who gets to learn, who gets to earn, and who gets left behind? This year's World Youth Skills Day, themed Youth Empowerment through AI and Digital Skills, is a global call to action. Yet in Africa, where only 28.5% of the population has internet access and just 11% own a computer, the digital divide is more than statistics. It's a lived experience. And according to Cletus Shurkuk, Plateau State Commissioner for Science and Technology, he once said that digital skills are no longer optional. They are essential. So a young person with the right skills can work and compete anywhere in the world. And that is the era that we are in as of now. So to help us shed more light on this and to share perspectives around this, I have Alayande Ayomide, who is a freelance photographer and a videographer. Thank you so much, Alayande, for joining me to discuss this. Can you please unmute? We can't hear you. While we wait for some sort of communication correction with Alayande, I also have Comfort Ohiaghara, who is a product manager. She joins me also from Lagos to discuss this. Thank you so much, Comfort, for coming around.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I'll start with you, Comfort. Now, according to the United Nations Development Program Africa, Africa's youth are not just the future, they are the present. And over 60% of the population is under 25. How are digital skills redefining modern-day hustles in Africa today, as you see it?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Well, the thing is, nowadays, compared to the olden days where you have to look for a traditional job, or you have to have some certain connections to work in some companies. Now, people have access to the income and even earn an income. Now, currently in today's world, we have the likes of freelancing, platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, where you can monetize your skills, right? We also have the likes of content creator. Just by taking a video using your mobile phone, right? I can just record some of the things I do daily. It could even be cooking, something like cooking. I could record and post online, and some people can find that interesting, something they're even interested in paying for, and I'm earning an income. So before, where you have to probably think of capital to have multiple shops. Maybe you're into business, right? Right now, you can even go online and create a store, right? We have some companies that allows you to create like a online store without you even having a full-blown website. And from there, it's easier for businesses to sell to different people across the world. Unlike before, where you only have access to the people that are in your locality, right? So it's really changing the also for the youths. We even have young people right now in the ages of 21, 22. They're in school, but they because they have a digital skill, they're also earning income. An example could be social media management. You could be managing maybe somebody's profile who is not even your city, your country, and you're getting paid for it. You can even have multiple sources of income, right? If, for instance, I make hair, but I also enjoy maybe content creation, for example, I can monetize that. I can put it online. There are different platforms, our social media platforms now, like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I can post those content, and depending on the traction, I can even TikTok. I think I should mention that, and I can earn money, and while I'm still keeping my traditional job. So yeah, it's really changing it significantly, and now it's even more like a survival skill, if you ask me. Thank you.
Yeah, I can actually relate. Let me talk to
Can you hear me?
Alayande. For you, how would you describe the era of digital skills and how it is either shaping or impacting the workforce?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Alayande.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Gone are the days that people go out to seek for jobs and all that, that you have to probably, once you've gotten a job, you have to wait for salaries. Sometimes you might never be paid on time, or some of the salary might even have to shift the next month. Now, you can just be out of comfort zone, they make your money. Many of us actually don't, we don't actually know what to use our phone for. We don't actually know what to use our phone for. Some just swipe, so those actually most of us are actually consumers, whereby many of us can actually become the producers, taking our phone to make money. You don't have to go out, but just be as a comfort zone and make money. Depends on the skills you have although. So that it's not how will I say that you don't really have to go out to have a formal education on probably on this skill. Once you have once you have a particular skill, you can just develop yourself. Like me now, I actually have the opportunity to go for a formal education. I just have to learn myself, do more research, any opportunity I see, probably 3 days skill acquisition, I'll go learn, improve myself on it and all that. So that's actually what brought me to this position. So I don't have to, you must go out to go for work and all that. I just got to cover things. It's why you know what you are doing. And you know you actually know your right audience. So I think that's it.
Work on your audio is still bit faint, but then I will still engage Comfort pending the time we have that sorted. Alayande, so just stay with us. Now, Comfort, World Bank data reveals, stark digital gaps between urban elites and rural youth, and with only 28.5% of Africans having internet access and just about 11% owning a computer. Is the digital revolution truly inclusive, or would you say it is deepening inequality?
Okay, thank you. If I should get question correctly, you're saying nowadays where we have laptops, how does that impact the
so I'm guessing we need to go on a break right now. Apologies for the poor audio quality from our guests, and something that our engineers will definitely work on to ensure that we have clarity so that we can make meat of the conversation for today. When we go on a break and return, we'll continue with the show. It's FAFANUA Africa on Central Television. Just stay with us. We'll be back in a bit. On FAFANUA Africa, we have been looking at the trend around digital skills and how youth have been engaging themselves and making more money via several digital platforms and tools readily available on the social space. And the world is celebrating Youth Skills Day, and the theme is around youth empowerment through AI and digital skills. But then when you look at the African continent as compared to other continents, you discover that internet penetration, data to access, the availability of tools for use, even literature, should I say, education around digital tools and how to use them has been a challenge. It's been a problem in Nigeria and in other African countries. And we're trying to bring this to perspective to find out what can be done to upskill and upskill African youths so that they can also tap into the knowledge and the resource of digital skills, whether AI and some other kind of tech-driven knowledge, so to speak, so that they can also be gainfully employed and can make money for themselves rather than having to look for a white-collar job. And I've been talking to Alayande Ayomide, who is a freelance photographer and a videographer, and of course, Comfort Ohiaghara, a product manager, and they've been sharing their expert ideas with me on the show. Alayande, thank you so much for staying with me to continue to discuss this. I want to believe that the audio quality is better than before. So let's go back to the issue around inequality. As I said earlier, World Bank data reveals stark digital skills gap. We're talking about just 28.5% of Africans who have internet access and just about 11% of Africans who own a computer, and that's even a computer that works. So when you look at the digital revolution all over the world now, would you say that it is truly inclusive in this part of the world, or you would say that the issues are actually deepening inequality?
Okay. So my own perspective, I'll actually go back to the government. I'll go back to the because not all ends are equal. Because not everyone has access to data. So many of us, there are some of us that our parents are well to do. There are some of us that our parents are average are still trying. So like I said, I will still have to bounce back to the government because once there is access to free Wi-Fi, once there's access to free Wi-Fi, and like there's a community where the youth or creative minds can gather. At least to help with the youths to bring out what is in us. Also, so many of us don't have access. We don't have access to lights. Where we are living, we don't have access to lights. We don't have access to internet. Most of us don't have access to phones. Why some of them have access to phones and they don't know how to use it? So the first one is actually facing the government because if there's free Wi-Fi, there's light, or probably there's a particular place or community that the government actually built for the creative minds, for really youth. Because not everyone can provide data. Not everyone has capacity, has the money to buy lights. So I just feel that for the first one, the first one actually going to the government. Then the second one, there are so many of us that actually we have the gadgets, we have life, we have access to life, but we don't know how to use it. You having the gadget, actually time for me, you know how to use the gadgets. So many of us we have access to everything we want. But using it to make money, using it to earn money for ourselves, we don't actually. There are many of us that we have so many things, but we're just wasting money, wasting resources, wasting everything. So second one is now you having the gadgets and knowing how to use it. That is it. So that's what I can just say about for now. Thank you.
Okay, so when you mentioned affordability, part of it, accessibility, You talked about poor electricity and skills gap. Now, fine, one can blame government, but then we understand that this is a challenge that permeates African governments, so to speak. Now, if these issues are to be addressed, should it be only the government that would provide solutions to them, or there could be some sort of partnership across board to eliminate these issues?
So actually push everything to government. We ourselves, we the citizens, okay, like you say, like let me just go back to the road aspect. Like we the citizens, we actually push the road, paying of the maintenance and paying of the road to the government. Meanwhile, it's really the citizens that actually passing through the road, they're actually using the roads. So I just feel that okay, if probably we can actually push it to the government, just if we can do it among ourselves, and this we the citizens, can do it among our boards. So okay, there are those that has the money. Okay, those creative mind, like those well-known photographers, videographers, and all that. No, they don't actually want to partner or collaborate with you that are just coming up. They don't want to collaborate because I understand that once you actually you don't actually want any kind of mistake in whatever you are doing, any kind of flaw because of kind of the figure you are or the kind of class you are now. So you don't want to collaborate or even do anything that has to do anything with we that are just coming up. So that's actually very hard for us. Because how do you want, even if we express ourselves, okay, most people are like, there's one event I actually went for. You must say that it's your work that will actually speak for you, not you actually saying it. You can talk from now to tomorrow. It's actually what you want to see. Even if you show them, they will still want to collaborate with you. So how do you go about it? There was one event I went for. That was before I got my smartphone. I started shooting videos. I made mention of that. So the reason they can actually give you is advice. Okay, to support. They can even give false support. They will tell you that they will do this, but they will not do it. They will only advise you. There are some of us that we actually have things to put out for the world, but we don't have the resources. And nobody is willing to even money or even to invest, risk their money in you. They only want to give you advice. So what do? We can't do anything. You just have to trust the process.
So let's break it down a bit and let's look at it from the point of affordability and financial resource to purchase the tools for trade. Now, we understand that digital access must be affordable to be empowering. And for those who cannot probably afford huge data resource, probably for shooting your videos and all, can a smartphone be a tool now of liberation when, let's just say, 1 gig of data in Nigeria costs nearly 3% of average monthly income?
Well, if I can hear you right, you ask that can we use our phone to make money for ourselves?
Now, I'm even talking about the affordability and the purchasing power. Now, we understand how exorbitant the prices of data can be in Nigeria. So I'm wondering, for someone who would want to use a smartphone as a tool of trade or for financial liberation, so to speak, can that person even purchase the lowest of the data gigs, like probably 1 gig for whatever it is the person wants to use it for, and still be able to make money from that in terms of availability and affordability now of this data resource?
Okay. Nowadays, that was the thing that you can actually use 1 gig. You can even use 2 gigs to make money. But now, I can count the number of times. I can actually say anyway that most of the time, like, how I say, I do solve more than the way I eat. You spend your money more on subscription than the way you eat. Because 2,000 data cannot do anything. 3,000 data. The highest, like the lowest now, at least probably like we have like 7,000 to 10,000 just to do 10 gigs. Because 2 gig, 3 gig can't do anything. But the way data is now very expensive. Because now people now say that it's either you choose data or you choose food. So you can't. So it's if you come online like this now. It's only those that are actually okay that knows what you want, or like this now. Even those that actually have their business, you will tell you that once you have business, when you call me, for you to know how data is, most people don't come online because the amount they put on data is too much. Is too much. So for you to motivate those that are just coming up, the data is just a big red flag for them to even start anything that has to do with content creation. Because you have to be consistent. Just like TikTok. For you to actually get one, you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. Just to even get followers, for you to even, before you can actually see your own audience, you have to be consistent. Once you're not consistent, even more to make, for you know, let's say you do a gig or 2 gigs, you can make 2 or 3 videos on TikTok for you've exceeded the data. So that's it.
Okay, let me quickly talk to Comfort. I understand that she's back online. Comfort, can you hear me? All right, so we'll quickly go on a short break, and when we return, we'll continue to look at the issue around digital penetration, digital skill adoption, and of course AI, and how that can be liberating tools for African youth. We'll be back in a bit. And we know that a 9-to-5 job can be pretty challenging and distasteful for Gen Zs, most especially the number of hours and the work pay commensurate with those workloads for this number of hours. And now we've seen youths and teenagers and Gen Z, so to speak, venturing into other trades, most especially with the use of digital tools and, of course, AI. We're talking about freelancing, digital marketing, digital trading, content creation, any sort of tech-based gig that can actually put food on the table and put money in the pocket is what a lot of youths are getting into now. But there are still challenges, there are still issues with policies of government efforts to scale up that particular branch of trade, most especially when it has to do with internet access, internet penetration, data affordability, and some other bottlenecks that these content creators or these digital tool users are constantly faced with. And of course, I have been talking to Alayande Ayomide, who is a freelance photographer and a videographer. He's been sharing his expert ideas and, of course, his opinion with us on the show. We're hoping to get our Comfort Ohiaghara and, of course, Akpobi Elvis to equally share their thoughts during the course of this discussion. So, Alayande, it's nice to know that you're still with us. Now, in this part of the world, are we actually witnessing a shift from digital consumption to digital production, or is it a fair share of both? So I said, when you look at this part of the world, I'm talking about Africa precisely, in terms of digital consumption, those who just go on the internet and watch a plethora of digital content, and those who actually go into production using digital tools, which one would you say is more pronounced, or would you say that it is a fair share of both in Africa?
Yeah, you know.
Okay, Alayande, stay with me for a while. Let me see if I can talk to Elvis. Elvis Akpobi, can you hear me? Elvis Akpobi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'd like to quickly get your thoughts around the issues with digital tools and digital trades, internet penetration and adoption in Africa compared to other continents. Would you say that it is something that has been yielding results, most especially for African youths, or there is still a long way to go?
But the journey of 1,000 might be able to step, I think, is leading profit for young Africans, and also young Africans are leveraging into it. But I remember a course I did as a student at the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies. It was basically on using digital skills and letting digital skills to grow the economy of Nigeria. And for me, every stakeholder, every government, every parastatal skills towards harnessing and growing digital skills of young, the vast large population of young citizens, which will in turn create jobs.
But then
for young
we've
people.
seen that the creation of jobs and the digital ecosystem in Africa is abysmal. And one of our guests talked about governments not doing the needful rather in terms of providing the enabling environment for this ecosystem to thrive. Would you blame the government, or are there some other bottlenecks that need to be addressed if you're hoping to improve on the quality of this digital space?
Blame the government. I'm of this school of thought that everything rises and falls on leadership. And for me, the kind of policies we make to determine how far we go, how charity the state begins at. So, I'll give you an example. Let us say today, the executive governor of Delta, Right Honorable on inception, appointed the chief job creation officer, which is creating jobs through skills jobs and all that. Then the Ministry of Science and Technology has trained over 400 young Deltans on, videography, video editing, and other digital skills. And these persons, they are being trained to be self-reliant. And in the ending, they always you notice that when they're given startup packs and all that, because we have to tell ourselves the government cannot provide jobs for everybody, but government can create an enabling environment where young people can live their dreams. The government can give young people access to the tools they need to do their dreams. And the Ministry of Youth Development is also embarking on the digital skill project, which is coming up next 2 weeks. And for me, it's the government that knows that you need to put the young people on the right path and take advantage of tech to create more jobs. So for me, every government gravitate towards and nesting digital skills in Nigeria. Every state government does that. I think the talk of the fact that the cost of unemployment will reduce and young people will be self-reliant. So it's a blessing to us, to my generation. The technology, the ICT is a blessing to my generation. I think we should leverage on it.
All right, Comfort, let me come to you now. I hope we can have audio clarity from your end. Now, Alayande a while ago talked about affordability in terms of the purchase of these digital tools and, of course, data for use. Now, how do we ensure that data is readily accessible and affordable for Nigerian youth who may want to go into content creation and make a living for themselves?
Thank you very much. I think I can hear you.
Yes, go ahead.
So for that, I mean, that's like the reason why we need the government, right? And not just the government. I believe that even communities, a lot of NGOs, right? If we are looking at scaling digital skill acquisition, I believe that things like data, there can be programs that are set up that could empower or support these trainees in terms of like financially, or probably we even buy data for them, but of course there is also monitoring to ensure that they're using the data for what they really want to do. So it's not just the government alone, and there could also be, I know there are some communities that do some giveaway programs where people can answer a few questions about their field, their interested field of study, and they can win awards like, laptops and these gadgets. Then also there could be sensitization around going into communities or youth areas where we know that they might not really have the capacity to purchase these tools and make it available for them, basically.
And some people will still question the issue around having these tools made available and what these would-be content creators use these tools for. There have been questions around Africans or African youths spending more time consuming data and posts and articles and presentations from the internet, but not really putting so much into also producing meaningful contents for themselves. And that is why, Alayande, I would like to ask you now, when you weigh the balance in terms of digital production and digital consumption in Africa, where would you say that the pendulum actually swings? Would you say that African youths are doing more in terms of producing more meaningful contents that actually educate, or you think that we're spending more on just consuming whatever it is that we can find on the internet?
From my own perspective, though, although I can have a slight challenges because of the aspects we actually put meaningful content. Though we Africans or we Nigerians, we are actually very productive. Anything we see on the internet, even if it's just joke or something that it will give. That most of us, we content creators, are actually making money from things that are not very relevant. So the aspect of being relevant, having a relevant content, many of us are not actually really getting the money from there. It's just we might actually never have the mindset of making money from your content. That just be like, okay, you just want to just do it for fun, and you got lucky and started making money from it. If you can check so many content creators, what they're actually doing has no meaning. Some are just making people laugh, and some are just easily to even make jest of many people, but they're making money from it. Many of us are actually using it for, okay, we're able to cover events or to do meaningful things, or to even rebrand the country. I think if we content creator, if the government or other people are actually like representing the country, we content creators and the individuals actually rebrand Nigeria. Because if you check other countries, you see, okay, if other countries, though every country has their own bad side and good side. If you check other countries, you can't see their bad roads, you can't see their good and good aspects you see. But in Nigeria, just check Nigeria, you see the bad things. And most of the funny things that are not actually to the country, that's actually dragging the country down. Most people are actually making money from it, just like the bloggers. Looking for just getting false informations. And many of them are actually making money from it, compared to we actually doing things that actually trying to make money from it, doing the right things, not actually carrying false information or just trying to do things just to make money. We that actually doing the right things are not actually making the real money.
Elvis, now, I mean, self-learning is powerful, we understand, but without structure, it actually risks being shallow. So, Elvis, for those who may not have the opportunity to venture into free courses or free programs, or have some sort of government intervention programs for them around digital training, can maybe short online courses rival some sort of that kind of education for youths who are hoping to prepare themselves for a tech career?
This is an example. As the privileged executive director of the North Young, we went back on several digital skills programs, and oftentimes a lot of young persons are beneficiaries of this program. One thing I have noticed is that I think our I think to celebrate negativity. And if you observe, if you're a content creator today, you find out that negativity gets more views than positivity. And I was discussing with a friend of mine that is in the content board. I asked him that how do they censor most of these? I think there should be a policy of, I don't know how they would do it now, censor most of the digital content that are coming out in our country. I think I was in a particular country, and I noticed that you can't do some negative content. And I think Nigeria should try to gravitate towards that, because lately everybody just wants to be a content creator. Fine, we're blessed with that tool of our time, but I think it should be leveraged on and to be used for positivity and non-negativity. Because the content that are coming out gradually, through the social media space today, it's always negative content that are coming out. And most of these contents are precedents. You know what society celebrates will always multiply. If young people when young people still want to be over and over again, they tend towards becoming that thing. And if it's a negative thing, you still decide to be overwhelmed in negativity. Aside providing free courses for young people, I think it's time our content to be productive, our content to be positive, So in the long run, we'll have a very, very good society where moral value, the form of moral value increases and the form of negativity decreases. I think.
Comfort, let's now talk about the quality of digital skills. Now, only 2% of African graduates work in tech-related fields despite rising demand. So what role do you think African universities can play in bridging the gap between the theoretical aspects of learning and developing a wholesome digital tool for those who may want to venture into the field, either for marketing, for content creation, but most especially for financial gains?
Okay, so I think that one of the ways we can do that, or the financial institutions can play a role, is by infusing this digital trainings in the curriculum. Right. We have a lot of graduates right now that studied something in the university, but they are currently doing another thing. The truth is, the major reason why people want to go to school, right, apart from your passion, you want to be a part of something that helps humanity, right? You also want to earn an income. But these days, we're in a situation where some or most students end up going through school without no job, and you see them totally doing something different from what they studied in school. So that means there's a huge problem, right? And that gap has to be bridged. And one of the ways I think is the curriculum, right? That's one thing. Then secondly is the practicality, right? Most universities teach on theories, right? There are a lot of things that we, as students, we learned, but we have no idea what it looks like. We're left to imagine most of those things. And it doesn't really help, because when graduates eventually get to the job market, they don't have the skills needed to actually survive or to stay relevant. So they end up either pivoting or having to go for more trainings. I mean, why would you go to school for several years and still end up that way, right? So that needs to be infused as well. I know for maybe science students in quotes on a high level, they do a little practicals, but the truth is most of us, it's mostly probably in your final year when you do real projects, you get to actually practice what you've been learning for years, right? So there has to be that infusion of practical trainings at every step of the way. Yeah, that's what I think. Thank you.
Well, this would actually mean that when it comes to curriculum, digital infrastructure, and of course, creating the enabling environments for learning, we can actually mine the digital space in Nigeria and of course in Africa, so that our youth would not only be engaged, but then be able to make some sort of a living for themselves and create legacies, as we've seen in other climes. Thank you so much, Elvis Akpobi, Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, Comfort Ohiaghara, Product Manager, and of course, Alayande Ayomide, freelance photographer and videographer, for sharing your thoughts with us on the show this afternoon. Well, we've actually looked at all the sides, and one thing that we can draw in conclusion is that we can actually make the best of this digital space by creating the environment for our youth to learn the necessary digital skills that can help them scale and become very productive within the digital ecosystem. And a lot is on the shoulders of government and probably the private sector too, to invest in this young generation so that they can create legacies, create contents, and create moments that can be useful to them and of course to the larger global space. My name is Lekon Obanjo. Thank you so much for being part of today's edition of FAFANUA Africa. See you some other time.